There is a silence within you that predates your first breath. It is not made of sound, nor time, nor memory. It is made of presence. Eternal, unmoving, radiant. And in that silence lives the truth you have spent lifetimes forgetting, only so you might have the holy joy of remembering. That truth is this: God is love, and you, dear soul, are an expression of that. Not a fragment, not a shadow, not a merry echo, but a living, breathing embodiment of divine love wrapped in skin, pulsing through a heart, seeing through eyes, and longing through a soul. You are not separate from the source. You are a wave in the ocean of it, rising for a moment to dance in form before returning again to the infinite. We were never sent here to earn love, but to extend it. Never sent to find God, but to realize that we were never apart. The trees know this. The wind does not doubt its place. The stars do not ask for permission to shine. And yet we in our humanness forget. We begin to believe we are the roles we play. We think we are the name we answer to, the story we survive, the mask we wear to be accepted. But these are garments, temporary, worn and eventually set down. You are not the role. You are the awareness behind it. You are not the body. You are the breath that animates it. You are not the seeker. You are that which is sought. The ego, frightened of its impermanence, will whisper that you must prove yourself. It will say love is something earned with perfection, with effort, with sacrifice. But love that must be earned is not love, it is performance. And performance exhausts the soul. The truth needs no costume, no applause, no approval. It's simply island. When Jesus said the kingdom of God is within you, he wasn't speaking metaphorically. He was reminding us of something the mind cannot grasp, but the heart has always known, that God is not a being far away, but a presence so intimate it breathes you, so close it can never leave, so gentle it waits until you are ready to feel it again. And what is that presence? It is love. Not the kind wrapped in conditions, not the kind traded for obedience or behavior, but love without edge, without ending, without expectation. The love that spun galaxies and still has time to cradle your heartbeat. You are not on a journey to become worthy of this love. You are on a journey to surrender to the truth that you already are it. Let us walk deeper now. Let us shed what was never ours, the guilt, the shame, the fear inherited from generations who forgot their light. You do not carry their burden by keeping it. You honor their story by transcending it. The pain you have felt was never punishment. It was the teacher. The initiation, the calling card of your awakening. Each wound was a crack through which the light could whisper, you are more than this, and so you are. Pause, breathe, and feel the ancient truth that lives beneath the noise of your life. You are love, expressing itself as you. You were not born to fix the world. You were born to love it, to forgive it, to hold it as it is, even while you anchor the truth of what it can become. You were not born to earn your place. You are the place, the temple, the altar, the holy space where the divine bows inward. The Tao teaches us that the greatest power is like water, soft, yielding yet unstoppable. And so is love. And so are you when you remember who you are. There is no force in softness. No need to push when you are in harmony. You do not have to change the world. You only have to change the frequency you offer it. Keep listening, beloved soul. The voice within you that speaks without words is not your imagination. It is your inheritance. It is the current of source guiding you not toward perfection, but toward presence, toward remembering, not reaching. God does not demand from you. God flows through you. As kindness, as compassion, as the warmth you offer a stranger without knowing why. That is the divine, moving without label, unencumbered by dogma, pulsing through the ordinary moments is something extraordinary. You are not forgotten. You are not broken. You are not alone. You are, and always have been, held by something vast and ancient and real. Something that asks only this: be still long enough to feel me, trust deeply enough to let me move through you, and love fully enough to know that I am what you are. Let this not be a teaching you admire, let it be a truth you live. And so the breath continues like an eternal tide rising in the sanctuary of your chest. You are not breathing alone. Every inhale is shared with the stars, every exhale is a whisper from the divine. You are not merely existing, you are communing, participating in a dance choreographed not by effort but by grace. And grace, beloved, is your natural state, not a reward bestowed for obedience, It is what you are made of when all else is stripped away. There is no distance between you and God. That was a story told by fear. That was a lie whispered by the mind addicted to separation. But the heart is always known. It knows that when your hands tremble in prayer or when tears silently fall without explanation, it is not emptiness that you feel. It is fullness so vast your body can barely contain it. It is God rising within you, not arriving from elsewhere. The mind seeks understanding, the soul seeks reunion, and in that reunion there are no questions, only knowing. Not the kind that shouts at certainty, but the quiet kind that needs no defense. The kind that walks through chaos unshaken because it remembers the stillness before the storm and it knows that stillness lives within. Let this remembrance guide you now. Let it melt the hard edges of the life you've been told to fight for. You were not sent here to struggle your way into holiness. You were sent here to awaken to the holiness that was never missing. And holiness does not look like perfection. It looks like presence. It looks like forgiving yourself for not knowing. It looks like holding space for your sorrow without trying to rush its release. It looks like waking up on a broken morning and still choosing to love anyway, not because you feel strong, but because love is what you are. Love is not a feeling. It is your being. And you cannot lose what you are. You can forget it. You can bury it beneath layers of shoulds and shame, but it never leaves. It never abandons you. Even in your darkest night, it waits, patient, still, glowing softly at the center of your being like a candle in a cave. And perhaps you have asked, why don't I feel it? Because, dear soul, love does not force its way in. It waits for your surrender, not the surrender of defeat, but the surrender of resistance. The sacred undoing of all that is not you. The willing release of the masks you've worn to feel safe. The moment you stop trying to be lovable and begin allowing yourself to be loved, everything shifts. The people who cannot meet you may drift away. The illusions may crumble, but what remains will be real. And what is real is enough. You were never meant to chase what you are. Like a flame searching for heat, the search itself is the veil. You are not here to earn access to God. You are here to unveil the God that you carry like breath, silent, unseen, but essential to your being. Do you see now? You are not your striving. You are not your healing journey. You are the space within which the healing happens. You are not the story. You are the silence that surrounds it. You are not the thought. You are the awareness that watches. And that awareness is sacred. It is not limited by form or time or fate. It was here before you had a name. It will remain when the name is gone. That is where God lives, in the infinite space of your true self, untouched by circumstance, unscarred by experience. So be kind to your mind when it forgets. Be gentle with your heart when it aches. They are only trying to return to what they already are. And in that return, there is no need to rush. There is only the invitation to soften. Softness is not weakness. It is the greatest strength. The mountain does not tremble at the wind because it is rooted. And you too can root yourself not in identity, but in essence. Not in belief, but in being. When you stand in your being, the world may swirl around you, but you no longer swirl with it. You remain silent, still, enough. This is the invitation. Not to do more, not to fix yourself, but to remember, to finally remember that you are the breath of God made visible. You are not on the outside of heaven trying to get in. You are the sky it stretches across. You are the ground it touches. You are the love it radiates. And so the journey continues, not forward but inward, not outward into answers but inward into awareness. With every breath, a new beginning. With every silence, a new revelation. And in this sacred unfolding, something ancient stirs within you, older than time, more intimate than thought. It does not arrive with thunder or spectacle, but with the softness of a truth too vast to be spoken. You do not grasp it, you allow it. It emerges like dawn, inevitable, gradual, quietly miraculous. And as it rises, you begin to see not with the eyes in your head, but with the eyes of your soul. Those eyes see beyond appearance, beyond form. They see essence. They see God in everything, in the face of a stranger, in the rhythm of the ocean, in the trembling of your own hands as you touch what is real. God is not hiding. God is not waiting. God is simply being and inviting you to be the same. You are not meant to reach enlightenment. You are meant to dissolve the belief that you are apart from it. Enlightenment is not a peak to climb. It is the moment you sit down, let go, and become what you already are. It is not a reward for the pure. It is the recognition that you were never impure. No act of love is ever wasted. Every moment you choose gentleness over judgment, compassion over control, presence over projection, you are remembering. You are tuning your life to the frequency of God, which is not found in temples of stone, but in the stillness of this very breath, this very moment, this trembling now. There are no ordinary moments. Every second is saturated with divinity. The laugh of a child is not just sound, it is evidence. The rustle of leaves is not just nature, it is God's voice in motion. And your pain, yes, even your pain, is not a mistake. It is the sacred fire that burns away illusion, making space for something real. Do not run from the fire, walk into it. Let it purify, not punish. Let it return you to what cannot be burned. The soul does not fear the flame, it knows it is the light behind it. There is nothing to be ashamed of in your journey. Every fall was a sacred descent into deeper awareness. Every time you were cracked open, you made room for more light. You are not broken, you are breaking free. And this breaking is not the end. It is the blooming, the blossoming of a being who has finally grown tired of pretending, of striving, of trying to win a game no one was meant to play. You are not here to win. You are here to awaken, to remember your own infinite worth, not because of what you've done, but because of what you are. And what you are is love in motion, spirit in form, God in expression. You do not need to find the divine plan. You are the divine plan. Not the plan for perfection or for achievement, but for embodiment, for walking this earth as a living prayer, for becoming the bridge between heaven and the human heart. This is why your presence matters. This is why your life is sacred. Not because it meets a standard, but because it is an unrepeatable expression of the infinite. There is not, and never will be, another you. Not in this exact body, not in this exact breath, not with this exact blend of laughter and longing for home. And oh, how you have longed. You have looked for something eternal in things that perish. You have searched for unconditional love in places that offered it only in exchange. But that ache, that hunger, that yearning was never wrong. It was the compass pointing home, not to a place, but to a state of being, to the sanctuary within you that needs no walls, no words, no validation, only remembrance. So remember now. Remember not with your mind, but with your being. Lay down your need to understand and let yourself feel. Feel what has always been waiting to be felt, the softness beneath your armor, the light behind your eyes, the presence that holds you even when no one else does. You are not defined by what has happened to you. You are not the echo of your pain. You are the space in which healing is possible, the witness to the rising and the falling, the love that remains when all else dissolves. And that love does not speak loudly. It hums, it pulses, it waits patiently at the threshold of your awareness until you are ready to open the door and say yes. Yes to presence, yes to wholeness, yes to a life not ruled by fear, but rooted in truth. Truth that says you are not separate. Truth that says you are not lacking. Truth that says you are not forgotten. You are seen, you are loved, you are held. Not because you've earned it, but because that love is the substance of your being. To deny it is to starve your soul. To accept it is to finally come alive. And when you come alive, the world no longer has to change for you to be free. You become the change. You become the stillness in the storm, the peace in the noise. The light that does not demand darkness disappear but shines anyway. Then let us continue deeper still into the boundless sanctuary of your being. For every breath you take now is not just air, it is a sacred permission slip, an invitation to dissolve the walls built by fear and return, not to a past version of yourself, but to the untouched essence that never left. The you that never doubted, never competed, never needed to be chosen because it knew it was the choosing itself. There is a sacred rhythm beneath the distractions of life, a melody that doesn't play through speakers or words, but through the pulse of existence itself. When you slow enough to feel it, not with your ears, but with your awareness, you will know this is the song of the soul. It is not hurried, it is not harsh, it is not seeking an audience. It simply is, flowing with the quiet confidence of truth that has never been shaken, even when you were. You do not need to light a candle to be holy. You do not need to recite the perfect prayer to be heard. The moment you sit in stillness without resistance or performance, the divine knows your name, not the one spoken by others, but the one vibrated by your soul before sound ever existed. And in that stillness, you come to see that there is nothing you must do to become divine. You were born clothed in it. Your laughter, your tears, your sacred confusion, all of it is an extension of that divine essence playing its way through time. God does not demand a polished version of you. God asks only for the real one, the one who stumbles, the one who wonders, the one who dares to feel. The path is not linear, nor should it be. Awakening is not a staircase, it is a spiral, drawing you again and again back to the same truths, not to repeat them, but to recognize them more deeply. Each time you return, it is not because you failed, it is because your soul is ready to hear the same song with new ears. There will be days when the light feels distant, when the silence inside feels like absence, not presence. But even then, especially then, you are not alone. For the divine does not shout. In the noise, it waits in the quiet. It is the unseen hand on your back as you walk into the unknown. It is the calm beneath the quake. It is the breath you didn't know you were holding and the exhale that finally sets you free. You were never asked to be fearless. You were asked to be faithful to trust the invisible thread pulling you forward, even when the path vanishes beneath your feet. Faith is not the absence of doubt. It is the willingness to walk anyway, to open your heart even as it trembles, to love without condition when every wound says to guard. In that trust, something miraculous happens. Your life begins to unfold, not according to your plans, but according to your truth. And your truth knows things the mind cannot explain. It knows when to rest. It knows when to let go. It knows that what is real does not require clinging. It requires allowing. When you stop gripping life, you begin to feel it, not as a list of tasks to conquer, but as a sacred current that moves through you and with you. No longer a battle, but a river. No longer a test, but a dance. No longer a search, but a remembering. And in that remembering, you soften, not because you are fragile, but because you are rooted. Not because you no longer care, but because you care in a way that no longer needs to control. You discover that peace is not the result of everything going your way. It is the stillness that remains when you let go of needing it to. So walk gently now, not because the world is fragile, but because your awareness of its sacredness has deepened. Speak slowly, not because you doubt, but because every word now carries a vibration of your soul's remembering. Look into the eyes of another and recognize yourself, not the surface self, but the self beneath identity, beneath separation, beneath time. This is the new way of being, not performative, but present. Not impressive, but impactful. Not in what you do, but in how you be. And how you be is how God moves through you. There comes a moment, often wrapped in the ordinariness of a sunrise or the silence between thoughts, when you realize that nothing needs to change for everything to change. That moment is not the result of effort, but of surrender, not a giving up, but a giving in to the truth that has been waiting patiently beneath every desire, every wound, every longing. And that truth is this: you were never separate from what you seek. Not for a moment, not in your deepest sorrow, not in your greatest fear. The connection was never broken, only forgotten, like clouds mistaking themselves for the sky. But the sky remains vast and untouched, even as the storm rages through. So too does your divine essence remain undiminished by your past, unshaken by your doubts, unaffected by how long it has taken you to remember. Eternity is not in a rush. Love is not keeping score. The divine is not waiting at the end of your transformation. It is pulsing in every breath of your becoming. When you let go of becoming someone and simply allow yourself to be what you are, you do not diminish, you radiate. You do not lose direction, you come into alignment. You stop asking life to validate you because you realize you are the validation. There is no higher authority than your own inner knowing, no scripture more sacred than your own soul's whisper, no temple holier than the moment you close your eyes, place a hand on your heart, and feel the presence that needs no name. And yes, you will still fall, you will forget, you will doubt, but now you will return quicker. Not because the path is easier, but because the resistance is gone. You stop fighting yourself. You stop judging the process. You allow each wave to pass without attaching to it, knowing the ocean beneath is still you. And in that ocean lives a quiet power, a power not born from control, but from communion, not from force, but from flow. You become like the moon, effortless in its pull, needed by none, yet illuminating all. You become like the seed, trusting the darkness, knowing that even unseen, it is still becoming something holy. This is the way of divine remembrance. It does not shout, it sings. It does not demand, it invites. It does not imprison you in ideals, it liberates you into essence. And in that liberation, something sacred returns to your eyes. A softness, a clarity, a deep knowing that says, I remember who I am. And in that remembrance, I see who you are too. Said, the more you remember yourself as an expression of God's love, the more the world around you softens, not because it changes, but because your gaze no longer demands it to be different. Your love no longer waits for worthiness. Your presence no longer clings to outcomes. You have touched eternity, and it has changed how you walk. You begin to bless everything, not with words, but with awareness. You bless the messiness, the uncertainty, the unspoken prayers. You bless the ones who cannot yet see, because you remember what it was like to be blind. And in your remembering, you become the mirror that helps others remember too, not by preaching, but by being. There is no sermon more powerful than a soul at peace, no doctrine more healing than a presence rooted in love. You become the answer you are always looking for, not in theory, but in embodiment. And so you walk, not to escape life, but to meet it deeply. You speak not to be heard, but to share the vibration of your truth. You love not to fill a void, but to express what you are, what you have always been. The journey is no longer about becoming better. It is about becoming real, becoming whole, becoming home. And home is not a destination. It is the place within you that never stopped loving. You are not who you were when this remembering began, not because you added anything new, but because you dropped what was never yours. You stopped carrying the weight of worthiness, the armor of expectations, the veil of pretending, and what is left is the real you. The ancient, luminous, formless presence that has always been silently watching, patiently waiting, endlessly loving. You see now with new eyes, not because the world has changed, but because you have become the change. The mirror is clean, the fog is lifted, and what you see when you look deeply is not the brokenness of the world, but its aching beauty, its holy becoming, its constant, sacred, imperfect unfolding. You begin to honor your scars, not as flaws, but as fingerprints of your journey. You begin to thank the pain, not because it was right, but because it awakened what comfort could not. You begin to see that even the silence was speaking, even the detours were direction, even the endings were beginnings dressed in disguise. And now, from this place of stillness, this inner altar where no one else needs to approve, what do you see? You see the face of God in everything, in your reflection, in a stranger's kindness, in the rhythm of your own breath. You see that love was never something you needed to find. It was what you were made of. It was your origin. It is your destination. And it is your every step along the way. So now you rise, not as someone who has completed a journey, but as someone who has merged with it. There is no more division between the seeker and the sought. You are no longer walking toward the light. You are the light walking, you are the love unfolding, you are the presence blooming into form with every sacred breath. There is no final act here, only a continual becoming, a never-ending unfolding of divine remembrance. You do not close this chapter, you live it, you breathe it, you become it. And in becoming it, you become the invitation for others to remember too. You do not need a title, you do not need a stage. Your life is the teaching, your stillness is the sermon, your kindness is the scripture, your presence is the prayer. And so, beloved soul, as you leave these words, may you never leave this truth. You are not separate. You are not lacking. You are not lost. You are the divine expressing itself in human form. God is love. And you are an expression of that. Not someday, not after healing, not once you've done enough. Now, always, already, you are home, you are whole, you are holy, and you are free. There is a stillness beneath all things, a silence so vast, so ancient, so eternal, that it cannot be spoken, only felt. You have touched it before in those fleeting moments when the mind surrendered, when the noise hushed, when all striving ceased. Perhaps it was beneath the stars, or during a quiet walk at dusk, or in the ache of loss when the world fell silent enough for truth to rise. It is there, in that stillness, that the Tao lives. The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. Words are fingers pointing at the moon. They are not the moon. The moment we define the divine, we reduce it. The moment we label the infinite, we confine it. Yet our hearts yearn for it, not as an idea, but as a remembrance. And so we search not for new truths, but for the courage to return to the truth that is never left. The soul does not need explanation. It does not ask for validation. It is complete in its own being. But the ego, loud and restless, seeks to name, to conquer, to claim as its own. It is the ego that asks, "What is my purpose?" It is the soul that whispers back, "To be." The Tao cannot be controlled, cannot be improved, cannot be taught in classrooms or contained in doctrines. It flows through all things, gives birth to all things, and asks for nothing in return. It is the great mother, the sacred void, the breath before breath. It is the source of life and the space in which all life unfolds. You do not find the Tao by reaching it. It is discovered in the surrender, in the softening, in the holy act of letting go. Letting go of knowing, letting go of becoming, letting go of being someone. When you drop the story, what remains? There is a river within you, not metaphorical but real. A living current of divine presence that flows from the heart of the universe through your own chest. It has no name, it cannot be owned. But it is you beneath the name, the skin, the thoughts, the roles. This river does not rush. It does not strive. It simply flows. And when you align with it, not force it, not dam it, not try to control its direction, but when you become it, something sacred happens. You begin to live without resistance. The birds do not worry where they will fly. The trees do not question when to bloom. The sun does not negotiate its rising. And yet we, children of the same source, fill our minds with plans and our hearts with noise, believing we must manage every moment, improve every imperfection, define every mystery. But life is not a problem to be solved. It is a mystery to be lived. You are not here to master the Tao. You are here to be mastered by it, to let it live through you, move through you, breathe you, dance you. The more you speak of the Tao, the further you move from it. But the more you listen deeply, without agenda, the closer you come to its eternal presence. Listen, not with ears, but with being. Can you hear the quiet guidance behind your thoughts? Can you feel the invisible rhythm that has brought you this far, even when you thought you were lost? That rhythm is not random. That guidance is not an accident. It is the Tao leading you. Not with commands, but with invitations. Not with shoulds, but with silent truth. The Tao invites you to live not from fear, but from flow. To act not from effort, but from presence. To love not as a strategy, but as a state of being. To speak not to convince, but to connect. In the world of form, we build identities, careers, reputations, opinions. But in the realm of the Tao, none of that matters. What you do fades. Who you are remains. The you that never began and will never end. The you that was whole before you were named. The you that does not need to be defined to be divine. When you touch that part of yourself, the search ends. Not because you found the answer, but because you remembered that the answer was never separate from you. You are not apart from the Tao, you are of it. You are not walking toward it, you are walking as it. And so there is nothing to earn, nothing to achieve, nothing to grasp. Just return. Return to breath. Return to now. Return to silence. Return to the place inside you that knows without needing to explain, that loves without needing to be loved, that trusts without needing to see. This is not passivity, this is power. The power of alignment, the strength of presence, the stillness that does not flinch even when the world shakes. When you live from the Tao, you become like water, soft yet unstoppable, yielding yet powerful. You take the shape of each moment without losing your essence. You nourish without control. You move with life, not against it. There is no resistance in water, no ego in its path. It flows to the lowest places without shame. It does not boast, it does not argue, and yet over time it shapes mountains. Be like that. Let your life be shaped not by force but by flow. Let your success be measured not in status but in stillness. Let your value come not from what you produce but from what you are. Because you are the Tao in form. You are the divine having a human experience, not to accumulate but to awaken. Not to win but to witness. Not to control life but to let life reveal itself through you. You don't need to understand the Tao to be transformed by it. You only need to trust it. to surrender to it, to remember that you were born from it, and to it you shall return. But even in the returning, there is no departure, for the Tao never left you. It has always been here, in the space between your thoughts, in the stillness beneath your fear, in the sacred quiet behind every longing. So be still now. Feel it. Let the words fall away. Let the striving soften. Let the searching end. And let the unspoken truth rise. The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao, but the Tao that can be lived, it is here, now, in your breath, in your being, and it is enough. There is a moment, subtle as the hush before dawn, when the self you have known begins to dissolve, not with struggle, but with grace. It is not an annihilation, but a revealing. Not a loss, but a letting go of the illusion that you were ever anything other than wholeness dressed in human skin. This is the moment when the veil thins and what remains is not an identity, but a presence. Not a story, but a silence. And in that silence, something eternal begins to whisper. You are not the doer. You are the awareness in which doing happens. You are not the thinker. You are the spaciousness in which thoughts arise and fall like waves returning to sea. The ego may protest it has built itself from motion, from drama, from definition, but your soul knows. It remembers the stillness from which all motion springs. It recognizes that truth does not need to be spoken to be real. It's simply island. Every time you surrender to the moment, truly surrender, without resistance or commentary, you come closer to the Tao. You come closer to the wordless wisdom that governs the unfolding of galaxies and the beating of your own heart. It is the same force. It is not distant. It is not reserved for mystics or sages. It is within you now, whispering through your breath, pulsing in your veins, waiting patiently for your return. You do not need to strive to become spiritual. You are already spirit. You do not need to purify yourself to be worthy. Worthiness is not something you earn. It is something you are. The Tao is not impressed by your accomplishments. It is not moved by your self-punishment. It asks only this: can you be present? Can you release your grip on who you think you should be and allow who you truly are to emerge? There is no arrogance in this emergence. True presence is humble, for it recognizes its source. A flower does not bloom to compete. It blooms because it is its nature to do so. And in blooming, it beautifies the world without effort. So too, when you allow your soul to rise unforced, unedited, unresisted, you become an instrument through which the Tao expresses itself in form. And what a miracle, that island. To walk the world not as a seeker, but as a revealer. To speak not from opinion, but from essence. To give not from obligation, but from overflow. To live not for approval, but from alignment. This is what it means to walk in Tao, not because you follow its teachings, but because you have become its expression. No longer needing to control, you become trustworthy. No longer needing to prove, you become magnetic. No longer needing to know, you become wise. For in surrendering the little self, you awaken to the vast self, the self that holds no edges, no past, no ambition, only presence, only now. The Tao does not rush, it does not explain, it does not defend, and yet it nourishes all things. What if you lived that way? What if you allowed your life to become an act of trust so complete that even in the chaos, your heart remained anchored in the calm? Not because you've mastered peace, but because you've ceased arguing with life. This is not indifference. It is intimacy. It is not withdrawal from the world. It is entrance into it without distortion. When the filters of fear fall away, you do not detach from the world. You see it as it truly is, whole, mysterious, divine. The same light that burns in stars burns in your chest. The same rhythm that moves the oceans moves your soul. So breathe. Breathe and remember, you are not behind. You are not broken. You are not missing anything. You are simply awakening. Awakening is not a thunderclap. It is a series of tiny surrenders. It is the willingness to be here fully, to stop running, to stop fixing, to stop resisting the sacred perfection of this moment. And as you do, life ceases to be a performance. It becomes a prayer. Each breath becomes holy, each glance a blessing, each step a return. Not to some distant ideal, but to the Tao, to the truth that cannot be spoken, but can always, always be lived. And so you walk not forward in time, but inward in truth. You begin to sense that all your striving was a long detour home. Every ambition, every failure, every moment you thought you were lost was simply grace in disguise, guiding you back to this spacious presence that asks for nothing but your awareness. The Tao cannot be improved, and neither can you. What needs improving is not the soul, but the illusion that it ever needed to become something more. You were not born flawed, you were taught to forget. And now, with each breath of stillness, with each moment of surrender, you are unlearning the forgetting. You are peeling away the layers of becoming to rediscover the peace of simply being. No more disguises, no more masks, no more performances for a world just as unsure as you once were. Instead, you stand as you are, not because you've earned the right, but because you realize you never lost it. There is a power in that kind of authenticity, a quiet, grounded power that comes not from force, but from truth. And truth, when lived, needs no defense. The river of the Tao does not ask permission to flow. It does not check to see who is watching. It simply follows its nature, and so must you. Not by copying the currents of others, but by trusting the pull within. That inner pull, that inexplicable knowing, is the Tao moving through you. It cannot be explained to those still lost in thought, but it can be felt, and it can be followed. Let your life become an act of listening, not to the noise, but to the silence beneath it. There is a sacredness to silence, not the absence of sound, but the presence of space. In that space, truth arises. In that space, love awakens. In that space, all fear dissolves, not because the world has changed, but because your relationship with it is transformed. You no longer need to be right. You no longer need to be first. You no longer need to be seen. You are already held by something greater than approval. You are already witnessed by something deeper than visibility. The Tao sees you, it knows you, and it moves you not through command, but through resonance. What resonates is already true. And when you live in resonance, you stop moving against the current of life. You stop pushing, manipulating, exhausting. You start allowing. You start receiving. You start realizing that abundance is not something you chase, it's something you recognize. Peace is not something you earn, it's something you remember. And love, divine love, is not something you wait for. It is what you are when all resistance falls away. The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao, but the Tao that can be trusted. It will never leave you. It will hold you when the world turns its back. It will carry you when your strength fails. It will breathe for you when your faith falters. And when you look back one day from a place of deep inner stillness, you will see that nothing was wasted. Not the heartbreak, not the detour, not even the moments of forgetting. All of it was the path, the crooked line that turned out to be a circle, a return, not to a better version of you, but to the real one, the one who was never apart from the Tao, the one who was always home. And now, like a leaf released into a gentle stream, you begin to float without effort. You begin to realize that life is not a mountain to be climbed, but a river to be surrendered to. And as you allow the current to carry you, not away from yourself, but deeper into your own essence, you feel the tension melt. The muscles of your mind, clenched for years in control and calculation, finally soften. The heart, once armored in fear and expectation, begins to unfold like petals in sunlight. You are not losing anything in this surrender. You are not giving up the self. You are giving up the illusion of the self. You are letting go of the mask so the face of truth can be seen. And when it is seen, truly seen, it is beautiful beyond all measures, not because it fits a mold, but because it no longer needs one. The Tao is the nameless mother of all things. It births 10,000 forms, yet claims none as its own. So too, your soul can create without attachment, speak without expectation, give without depletion. The moment you stop acting from the need to be someone, you begin to act from the overflow of being itself. That is when your words become medicine. Not because you tried to heal, but because healing is what truth naturally does. That is when your silence becomes sacred. Not because you withheld, but because presence speaks louder than sound. That is when your life becomes art, not by design, but by surrender. The Tao teaches us not through commandments, but through contrast. It lets us experience striving so we can appreciate flow. It allows us to taste restlessness so we may yearn for peace. It shows us the pain of ego so we might return to the freedom of the soul. Nothing is wasted in its unfolding. Even the detours are part of the path. When you begin to live from this space, from the silent center that observes all without clinging to any of it, you begin to see the world differently. A smile from a stranger becomes a sign. A bird's song becomes scripture. The wind on your face becomes a sermon. Because you are no longer seeking grand revelations, you are listening for the sacred in the ordinary. And that is where the Tao hides in plain sight. Not in temples, not in texts, not in the words of masters, but in the stillness between your own thoughts. In the breath you forgot you were breathing. In the pause between heartbeats. It has never left you. You left yourself. But now you are returning not to a new identity, but to a timeless one. Not to a philosophy, but to a presence. The presence that was with you in your first breath and will hold you through your last. The presence that knows no fear, no need, no lack. It is complete, and it is what you are. To live from that presence is to live without hurry, to walk without urgency, to speak with clarity, not volume, to meet life not with demand, but with deep trust. And oh, what a life, that island. A life where the moments don't rush past you, but bloom within you. A life where peace is not postponed for a future without problems, but embraced now amidst the beautiful mess of being human. A life where joy is not a prize, but a practice. Where you realize that everything you were waiting for was waiting for you to awaken. The Tao cannot be taught. It can only be remembered. And you are remembering now not with the intellect, but with the soul. You are coming home not to a destination, but to a vibration. Not to a belief, but to a way of being. You are not becoming the Tao. You have always been it. And as you settle more deeply into this remembrance, you feel the tension of a lifetime begin to dissolve. The tension of needing to impress, the burden of proving your worth, the endless pursuit of becoming someone in the eyes of a world that forgot how to see. All of it fades like mist under the morning sunday. For what is there to prove when you are already one with what is? There is no audience in the presence of the Tao, no critic, no applause. There is only the dance of life itself flowing through you, around you, as you. And when you surrender to that dance, not needing to lead, not needing to follow, but simply to move as you are moved, then you are free. Not the freedom the world speaks of, the freedom to do anything, but a deeper freedom. The freedom to be untouched, unshaken, unbound by fear. To walk through the fire of change without being burned by identity. To watch the seasons of your life shift and still know the ground beneath it all is steady, eternal, and yours. There is a wisdom that speaks not in words but in winds, not in sermons but in silence. It is the voice of the Tao, the whisper of the soul. And when you live in communion with that voice, you no longer need direction, you become direction. You no longer need to chase purpose, you become purpose embodied. You begin to live with such stillness that your very presence becomes a sanctuary. You begin to love with such gentleness that even the hardened places in others begin to soften. You begin to move with such surrender that every step becomes a prayer. Not because you have tried to be spiritual, but because you have ceased trying to be anything else. This is the paradox the mind cannot grasp, but the soul remembers. That when you stop seeking, you find. That when you stop naming, you understand. That when you stop grasping, you receive. The Tao is not found through effort. It is found through emptiness. It is not reached by climbing higher, but by sinking deeper. Deeper into the truth that there is no separation between you and the source of life. You are not a visitor to the divine, you are its expression. And once you see this, truly see it, judgment fades. Comparison dissolves. Competition becomes absurd. For how can one wave compete with another when both are the ocean? How can one candle judge another when both are lit by the same flame? Let yourself be a wave, let yourself be a flame, let yourself be exactly what you are, no more, no less. For in that precise expression, unadorned and unashamed, lies the perfection the Tao has been guiding you toward all along. There is no effort in a tree growing. There is no strain in a river's flow. And there need be no striving in your unfolding. Let your life be as natural as dawn breaking, as effortless as a breeze through the trees, as inevitable as light finding its way through cracks. Because that is what you are. The light, not the shadow, not the struggle, not the doubt. The light that moves quietly through all things. The light that never asks, am I enough? Because it simply shines. And when you remember that, not just in thought, but in the marrow of your being, you do not become enlightened, you become real. not a better version of yourself, but the original one, the one before fear, before noise, before forgetting. And that is the gift of the Tao. It returns you to yourself, not by giving you something new, but by stripping away what was never you to begin with. And now we come not to an end, but to the deepest breath of all, a breath that does not complete the journey, but sanctifies it. The path you have walked, winding and sacred, was never leading you outward. It was a spiral inward, ever inward, toward the unshakable center of your own being. And here you are, not because you reached it, but because you stopped running from it. There is no final destination. There is only deeper intimacy with the moment. The ego will always hunger for a peak, a triumph, a conclusion. But the soul is content to bow, to listen, to simply be. And so we do not finish, we arrive. Arrive in this breath, where everything is already whole. Arrive in this silence, where nothing needs to be explained. Arrive in this presence, where all of you is welcomed, yes, even the scars, even the shadows, even the doubts that still flicker in the corners of your awareness. For the Tao holds them all. The Tao judges nothing, the Tao discards no one. It is here for the wounded parts of you, just as it is for your highest light. It is here for the one who doubted. It is here for the one who pretended. It is here for the one who tried so hard to be enough. It is here to remind you, you always were. And so you release now, not because you have nothing left to hold, but because you finally understand you were never meant to hold it. The pain, the striving, the endless seeking, they served their purpose. They led you here, they made you tender, they made you ready. And now, with open hands and an open heart, you let the river carry you. You no longer need a name for what you are. You no longer need to describe the light to feel it. You no longer need to speak the Tao to live it. You are living it every time you meet life without resistance. Every time you forgive the moment instead of fighting it. Every time you trust the unknown rather than clinging to the familiar. Every time you love without condition and breathe without needing a reason. You are the presence that watches, the stillness that holds, the light that outlasts every passing cloud. You are not your story, you are not your future, you are not your fear. You are the space they pass through. And in that space, the Tao sings not with sound, but with silence, not with words, but with wisdom. And you are the instrument now. You are the hollow flute through which the Tao plays its quiet, holy music. So walk on not toward something, but as something. Walk as stillness. Walk as truth. Walk as the Tao in human form, gentle, grounded, luminous. Let your life be the unspoken scripture. Let your breath be the blessing. Let your being be the proof. There is nothing left to become. You are already home. And in this home, nothing is missing. Nothing is broken. Nothing needs to be fixed. Only remembered, only loved, only lived. The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. But the Tao that can be lived, it is who you are. It is where you are. It is now. Then let us go further still, not toward more, but into more. More depth, more stillness, more knowing beyond thought. Because the truth of who you are is not a matter of how many steps you take toward enlightenment. It is a matter of how completely you can stop, how fully you can surrender, how softly you can be with what island. There is a beauty that can only be seen by the soul, a wisdom that can only be heard in silence. You cannot chase it, you cannot manufacture it. But when all striving ceases, it rises not as something new, but as something ancient returning to view. And in that rising, you remember you are not here to seek the Tao, but to become transparent enough for the Tao to shine through. This transparency is not weakness. It is power beyond all performance. To be transparent is to carry nothing unnecessary, no defenses, no masks, no roles. Just the raw, luminous truth of your being breathing itself into the world. When you strip away every borrowed belief, every inherited fear, every identity constructed in desperation, what remains? Not of wide, but of usness. Not a blank slate, but a boundless light. And that light is you before you learn to be someone. That light is the Tao expressing itself as a life, as a presence, as a sacred breath walking the earth in your name. So much of your exhaustion comes from forgetting this, from trying to hold together a false self, a curated image, an idea of who you think you must be to deserve love. But the Tao never asks for that effort. It asks only for your trust. Trust that you are already the sky, not the weather. Trust that you are already the ocean, not the waves. Trust that even when you doubt, even when you fall, even when you forget, it is holding you, guiding you, moving through you. You do not have to hold the Tao, it is holding you. And when you finally when you let go of controlling your healing, your growth, your future, what rushes in is not emptiness, but a peace so deep it does not depend on understanding. It's simply island. And from that peace, your life begins to move differently. You speak less to be heard and more to bless. You give not to be valued, but because giving has become your joy. You no longer ask life to meet your expectations, you meet life with your presence. You realize that even the moments that once broke you were necessary. Not to punish you, not to test you, but to soften you. To break the outer shell that had hardened around your soul so the light could get in and out. You are not the wound. You are the light that survived it. And now you carry that light forward, not as a burden, but as a beacon, quietly, lovingly, powerfully. The Tao makes no proclamations, it simply exists. It nourishes, it heals, it guides, all without needing recognition, and so do you. You begin to love anonymously. You begin to serve without needing to be thanked. You begin to live for the joy of alignment, not the applause of achievement. This is the sacred shift from ego to essence, from noise to knowing, from effort to embodiment. And in this space you understand, the greatest miracle is not walking on water, it is walking the earth with open eyes, with a tender heart, with a still soul that knows the sacredness of this now. No longer needing the extraordinary, you see the miracle in the ordinary, the softness of your breath, the texture of sunlight, the quiet grace of simply being. You realize there is nothing missing from this moment. The Tao is here, complete within you. You are the leaf in the wind, the silence in the song, the question and the answer. You are not just on the path. You are the path. And as you walk, not seeking, not striving, but surrendering, the world rearranges itself around your peace. Not because it changed, but because you did. You are no longer asking life to reflect your fear. You are allowing it to reflect your truth. And the truth is this: you are the breath of the Tao. You are the light of the formless. You are not separate from the sacred. You are what the sacred looks like in human form. So live like it, not with effort, but with ease, not with noise, but with presence, not with pride, but with reverence. Let every step be a bow. Let every moment be enough. Let your being be your message, because you are already home. And in that home there is no striving, only stillness, only light, only love. And that is enough. You are enough.